Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a wild stallion. It's powerful, it's intelligent, and it has the energy to carry you toward greatness or drag you into chaos. Every thought you think, every belief you nurture, every fleeting emotion, these are the reins. But here's the thing, most people, most of the time, aren't holding the reins. They're letting the stallion run wherever it wants. And that, my friends, is why so many brilliant, capable people feel trapped, frustrated, or stuck in patterns they can't escape. But what if I told you that there's a way to step into your own power, a way to train your mind so that it stops controlling you and starts working for you, so that instead of reacting to life, you're designing it? Today, we're going to unlock the key to that control. We're going to discover the forces that shape your thinking, the habits that dictate your actions, and the awareness that will allow you to rise above distraction, doubt, and fear. Because the truth is simple yet profound. If you do not control your mind, it will control you. And once you take that control, once you decide to steer your own life with precision and purpose, there is nothing that can hold you back. The mind is the most extraordinary tool you will ever possess, more powerful than any technology, more influential than any circumstance, and more capable than anything else in the universe. Every invention, every act of courage, every moment of transformation in history started first as a thought, a spark in someone's mind. Your mind is the command center of your life, the engine that drives your choices, the filter through which you experience reality. It shapes not only what you think you can do, but also what you believe you deserve, what you focus on, and ultimately what you create in your world. And yet, for all its power, most people treat their mind as if it's a passenger instead of the driver, letting every stray thought, every emotional impulse, every fear dictate the course of their lives without realizing the enormous potential within them. Your mind has the ability to lift you to incredible heights or to keep you trapped in invisible chains, and it does not discriminate between the two unless you take conscious control. It is like a river. If left unchecked, it can flood, sweep everything away, or erode the foundation of your dreams. But when guided, when harnessed, it can irrigate fields of opportunity, generate energy, and sustain life in ways that seem almost miraculous. Thoughts are not just ideas floating in your head. They are forces that shape your reality. Every thought triggers emotions, every emotion triggers actions, and every action compounds into the results that define your life. If you are unaware of what you think, if you are passive in the direction of your mind, the result is predictable. You will follow patterns that are not yours, you will repeat cycles that do not serve you, and you will live a life orchestrated by forces outside of your control. But the power of the mind is not fixed. It is dynamic, it is alive, and it is yours to master. With awareness, with focus, with intentional practice, you can direct your mind toward solutions instead of problems, toward hope instead of fear, toward opportunity instead of limitation. You can rewire the habitual thoughts that have kept you small and replace them with ones that expand your capacity, elevate your confidence, and activate your potential. Every breakthrough, every leap forward, every act of greatness is born from a mind that has learned to see beyond the immediate, to control its attention, to shape its beliefs, and to direct its energy in purposeful ways. The mind is not just a passive instrument, it is the creator of the life you will lead, the lens through which you perceive the world, and the engine that drives the reality you experience every single day. Awareness is the cornerstone of control, the moment when you step out of autopilot and begin to truly understand the inner workings of your mind. Most people move through life reacting to thoughts, emotions, and circumstances without ever pausing to notice what is happening inside. They feel frustrated, anxious, or stuck, and they blame the world, blame other people, or blame luck, never realizing that the source of their struggle is much closer, inside their own mind. Awareness is the act of shining a light into the corners of your consciousness, noticing the patterns of thought that run on repeat, and recognizing the beliefs that have been silently guiding your decisions for years. It is the first step in claiming power over your mental world, because you cannot change what you do not see, and you cannot steer a ship when you do not even know which way it is drifting. When you cultivate awareness, you begin to observe the automatic responses that have been dictating your behavior. You notice the self-doubt that whispers just as you are about to take action, the fear that paralyzes just before opportunity knocks, and the negative thoughts that replay over and over like a broken record. You begin to see the triggers, the habits, the environmental cues that shape your mind without your permission. Awareness is not about judging yourself or feeling guilty about what you notice. It is about noticing with curiosity, with honesty, with clarity, and with a willingness to take responsibility. It is the recognition that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts, and that distinction is where freedom begins. The moment you are aware, you gain the ability to pause, to choose A, and D, to redirect. You realize that a thought is only a thought until you give it meaning. And is only a feeling until you decide how to respond to it. Awareness allows you to identify which thoughts serve you and which ones sabotage you. It allows you to spot the lies you've been telling yourself, the stories that keep you small, and the excuses that keep you from stepping into your true potential. The more you practice awareness, the more you develop the muscle of conscious attention. You begin to notice not just what you think, but how often you think it, the intensity with which emotions arise, and the subtle ways your mind can lead you toward inaction, distraction, or doubt. Awareness opens the door to mastery because it is the prerequisite for change. Without it, you remain a passenger, buffeted by the winds of circumstance. With it, you become the navigator of your inner world, able to direct energy toward growth, focus, and deliberate action. It is the moment when you stop being led by unconscious patterns and start leading yourself, when you replace automatic reactions with intentional choices, and when the life that once seemed dictated by external forces becomes one shaped by your own conscious direction. Emotions are often misunderstood, feared, or suppressed, but they are not enemies. They are signals. They are fuel. They are the raw energy that can propel you toward your highest potential if you learn how to harness them. Every great achievement, every moment of courage, every leap into the unknown is powered by emotion, and yet so many people allow their emotions to control them instead of using them as a source of strength. Fear can freeze you, doubt can paralyze you, anger can destroy relationships, and frustration can make you give up. But the truth is that these emotions only have power over you if you allow them to dictate your actions. The mom, you recognize that emotion is energy in motion, that it is information, that it is a tool rather than a cage. You open the door to a life of unstoppable momentum. Every emotion carries with it a message about what you care about, what you value, and what your mind is telling you about a situation. Ignoring emotions, pretending they don't exist, or trying to suppress them only keeps them bottled up, building pressure, creating stress, and eventually exploding in ways that you cannot control. But when you acknowledge your emotions, when you name them, when you feel them fully and then decide how to respond, you convert raw energy into productive action. Excitement can fuel creativity, anticipation can drive preparation, passion can ignite innovation, and even fear, when faced head-on, can sharpen focus, heighten awareness, and strengthen resilience. The key is not to eliminate emotions, but to manage them intelligently, to step back as the observer, and to choose which emotion you allow to guide your behavior. When you do this consistently, your emotions become allies, not obstacles. They become accelerators for your goals, magnifiers of your clarity, and amplifiers of your courage. Consider that every champion, every leader, every person who has transformed their life has learned to use emotion as a compass rather than a cage. They feel deeply, they care intensely, and they allow that energy to drive them forward with purpose and discipline. Emotions are not random, they are signals that point toward what matters most to you. When you understand this, you stop being a victim of circumstances, stop being buffeted by mood swings or external pressures, and start being the deliberate director of your internal experience. Harnessing emotion is about channeling it, aligning it with your goals, and using it to motivate actions that are consistent with the life you want to create. It is about transforming nervousness into preparation, doubt into investigation, disappointment into determination, and frustration into fuel for relentless pursuit. The more you practice this, the more your emotions serve you, energize you, and elevate you, turning what once might have been chains into the very engine that propels you toward your dreams, that creates momentum when inertia threatens to take hold, and that transforms your inner world into a powerhouse of unstoppable energy. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life is to understand the difference between reaction and choice. Most people live in reaction, swept up by every impulse, every emotional surge, every circumstance that comes their way. A comment, a setback, a fear, or a challenge triggers an immediate response, and too often that response is automatic, unconscious, and unaligned with the life they want to create. Reaction is reflexive. It is being pulled by forces outside yourself, by emotions, by triggers, by the environment, by other people, by circumstances, and by old patterns that no longer serve you. Choice, on the other hand, is the essence of personal power. Choice is the ability to pause, to see what is happening, to observe your emotions and thoughts, and to decide deliberately how you will respond in a way that serves your purpose, strengthens your character, and moves you toward your goals. Every moment in which you exercise choice instead of reaction is a moment in which you reclaim your power, a moment in which you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your own life. The reality is that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. A setback, a criticism, a mistake, or a failure does not have to define you unless you allow it to. Your response is what defines you. Choice over Ria. Sishion is about creating space between stimulus and response, a gap in which awareness and intention can operate. It is about developing the mental muscle to step back, observe the triggers, understand the implications, and make a decision that aligns with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. This is not easy at first because your mind and your emotions are trained for immediacy, for comfort, for habitual patterns that may not serve your highest potential. But like any skill, it can be developed with practice. Every time you choose, you strengthen the pathway of deliberate action in your brain, rewiring your responses, transforming your habits, and creating a new default mode in which empowerment replaces reactivity. Choice over reaction is also about owning responsibility for your life. When you react unconsciously, you give your power away to external forces. When you choose consciously, you reclaim that power. You step into leadership over your own mind, and you create a life that is the result of deliberate action rather than the accumulation of unexamined impulses. Every great leader, every high achiever, every person who has mastered their destiny understands this principle deeply. They know that circumstances will always test them, that people will push buttons, that life will throw obstacles, and that challenges will come unexpectedly. The difference between being controlled and being empowered lies in the ability to choose, to pause, to redirect, to respond with clarity and intention, and to never allow the external chaos to dictate the internal state. Because your inner state determines everything. Your decisions, your actions, your relationships, and the trajectory of your life. Mastery is not an accident, it is not a lucky break, and it is not something that comes to those who wait for the perfect moment. Mastery is forged through deliberate, and intentional daily practice. The small yet powerful actions repeated over and over until they compound into unstoppable momentum. Most people underestimate the power of daily habits because they look for immediate results, for dramatic breakthroughs, or for sudden transformations. But the truth is that greatness is built quietly, one choice, one action, and one disciplined moment at a time. Every skill, every ability, every mental strength, and every achievement begins with the decision to show up consistently, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it feels tedious, and even when the results are not immediately visible. Daily practice builds awareness, strengthens mental muscles, and rewires the mind to respond with intentionality rather than habit. The mind is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds of doubt, fear, and distraction take root. But if you tend it carefully every day, planting seeds of focus, positivity, and disciplined thought, it flourishes into a field of potential. When you commit to daily practice, you create momentum that is almost unstoppable because repetition breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds the courage to take bold action. It is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is about showing up even when motivation wanes, even when life gets messy, and even when distractions try to pull you off course. Small daily actions compound into extraordinary results because they build a foundation of consistency and reliability in your mind, your habits, and your behavior. The brain begins to rewire itself. Neurons form new pathways, and the energy that once scattered into distraction now channels into focus, clarity, and progress. Daily practice is also about creating rituals that anchor your mind and your energy, routines that prepare you to face challenges with resilience, to respond to stress with calm, and to pursue your goals with unstoppable determination. It is in the daily repetition that you learn to control your thoughts, manage your emotions, and choose actions aligned with your highest potential. Mastery is not reserved for the naturally gifted or the extraordinarily talented. It is the result of deliberate, focused, and persistent effort. Every great athlete, every successful entrepreneur, every high achiever you admire has leveraged the power of daily practice to reach a level of skill and control that appears effortless from the outside, but is the result of countless small, consistent actions over time. When you embrace daily practice as a non-negotiable part of your life, you move beyond the chaos of distraction and the traps of inconsistency, and you step into a life of intentional growth. You create a rhythm in which your mind becomes sharper, your focus becomes laser-like, your decisions become more deliberate, and your life becomes a reflection of the effort and discipline you invest each and every day.